Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our How-To Week here at Beyond Indigo. I'm Kelly Baltzell. I'm the CEO and owner of Beyond Indigo Pets. We are continuing with some simple how-tos that you can do back at the practice immediately. We're kind of thinking it's like craft week here, but since I suck at crafts, we're not doing that. So we're giving you marketing tips on how to. And Dr. Jess Trimble, our lovely face that we see every Wednesday, is continuing the theme. So what do you have for today for us, Jess? There we go.
Well, if I'd known that you wanted to do crafts, I would have brought like paper and we could have done like Thanksgiving turkey handprints or something. Maybe that would be a little bit more a better thing for the day.
I might be able to handle that.
Well, today of all days, it felt like a good day to talk about embracing change and the difficulty and discomfort that comes along with it. So change, obviously right now is everywhere. We're feeling it this year really more than ever. There's social unrest and civil unrest and changes in country leadership and global pandemic shutdowns and quarantine. So obviously we have a lot of change going on in our life, but also that resonates with our personal lives and our professional lives, our relationships. It's hard to keep that compartmentalized, especially when you're working from home and spending so much time in one place. And so there are ways that we can bring change into our life in ways that you can control, right? In little incremental changes that can help to train your brain into thinking that change is more of a positive thing, rather than experiencing the anxiety that comes with the discomfort of not knowing what the end result of some change will be. So learning to accept change, or at least allowing it to happen around you without having that negative reaction to it, is going to be an incredibly important skill to have, really for the rest of your life, but especially this year. But the thing is a skill. It's not some inherent trait. It is a muscle that has to be flexed and used and toned. The more that you experience positive change, the more when a big change that comes that you're uncomfortable with comes around, you'll be better prepared to handle it and to respond to it and to help others through it as well. So if you want to go to the next slide, we're going to talk about 5 things that I have found to be very helpful in helping a team cope with change, especially when there are bigger changes happening around you, right? Because we want to be able to help our team members address it in a smaller way, in a way that they can control, and then apply those skills to the rest of their life, and you'll have a happier set of employees at the end of it. So first things first, what is your team's vision and mission? What is their why? Make sure that you have your entire team aligned on the reason that they're there. And for most of them, it's going to be because they love animals or they love the science. That doesn't necessarily explain their why. Their why is, I want to help people and pets. Find that one thing that your whole team can align behind, and then set up your values that your team all agrees on. What is important to your team in their day-to-day work? Is it that you always help another team member when they're in need, or honesty above all else? There are zillions of values out there, and it's a pretty easy Google to get some of the top values that a lot of companies embrace. But I've found that when your team has a set of values that everyone has discussed and everyone agrees upon, when there is a big change or a big decision to make, and you're not there to help them, or they need to give their input, they can fall back on those values comfortably to know that those should help guide their decision-making processes. So it gives them a little bit more control in the situation. They know what the team and what the business as a whole values, and they can live off of that in those difficult times. The next one would be to develop your standard operating protocols. Your team can't be comfortable in a changing environment if they don't know what they should be doing in a non-changing environment. So making sure that they have all of those systems and guidelines in place, and then ask them to set those all on fire and rewrite those guidelines for the times that their life is just a giant dumpster fire. So, you have a standard operating protocol for a perfect day. What happens when 5 people show up and claim that they had appointments because our technology failed. Or what happens when we have 3 hit by cars all come in at the same time? How does that change your protocol? So ensuring that they have thought through and done a lot of scenario planning and set up the standing operating protocols for non-standard situations as well will really significantly help them in those times of discomfort and change. The next thing is helping them understand why they need to change. So for instance, if you're trying to help them not give away free nail trims, help them understand why. There's a lot that goes on in a clinic where we don't share financial details with the members of our team. We feel like we need to keep those quiet. But if we can show them the reason why we shouldn't be giving something away for free, because that money can instead be used to fund the angel jar up front that pays for surgeries for homeless pets. These people in our clinic balance their own checkbook and they budget their own homes. There's no reason that they can't have a good understanding of the finances of the clinic and that true transparency of how the business runs as well. And they won't really want to get behind a change unless they understand why that change is necessary. So be transparent about it, help them understand the why. And then tell them how you feel. And this is the hard part for a lot of people, but being vulnerable and empathetic, sharing a story about the time that you had to go through a change and it was scary, that will help them understand that you're on the same level with them and that you're all human and we are all so far from perfect. It's not even funny. But we have to help them to find ways to relate to each other, to feel that connectedness, to really build that team and to empathize with each other so that when someone does make a mistake or have a failure, hey, no big deal. You know what? I failed last week. This is what happened. This is what I learned from it. What are you going to learn from your mistake? And just make it this sense of, collegiality and team and understanding that we all go through the same things. That will significantly help in those times of discomfort. And then lastly, something a little bit more on the fun side of how you can bring change into your clinic on a weekly basis in sort of small controllable doses would be to have a weekly science experiment, right? And have everyone on your team involved, from kennel attendants to CSRs to your veterinarians, and make it little things, but use the scientific method for it because it feels more controllable for a lot of people that way. So say, you know what, this week, if I'm a kennel attendant, for example, I hypothesize that if I put all of the dogs sorted by personality in the kennels in the back, that I'll have 50% less barking, right? And there's little decibel readers that are super cheap on Amazon, and actually have them measure the difference. And if it works, oh, that's incredible. Your clinic is more quiet. The kennel attendant felt like they accomplished something. The rest of the team had this, oh, here was a change that went through that was successful, and they get a little post-change dopamine hit. So the next time a change comes around, it feels a little safer. But if nothing happened, then hey, no worries. Like, you're really not out anything other than $5 for a little decibel reader. But the team gets more comfortable with understanding that there's little tweaks that they can make and changes that they can make that can improve the patient's lives and their own lives, and they shouldn't be afraid of that. And so every week, having someone on your team sort of develop a hypothesis. This week, I hypothesize if I give every single client a dental brochure, I will schedule 10% more dentals. It's an easy thing to measure. Obviously better for the pet. It's great for your front desk people, or really the whole team, to be able to feel more involved in the company as a whole. So I sort of love the idea of weekly science experiments. Makes it fun, sort of gamifies it a little bit, but certainly will get your team more accustomed to change on that smaller, more controlled scale. And then once they're used to that, you can make it bigger and bigger. Like, hey, let's implement a new telehealth system this week. But that is a much larger conversation, so we'll hold it off there. Hopefully these tips can help your team to be a little bit more comfortable with the changes that are happening now and the ones that undoubtedly will be coming in the very near future.
Good tips.
It's some of these I've definitely done in my own clinics, and they've worked beautifully. So being able to work in practices that are both slow changing as well as practices that change overly fast, I feel like has given me a good perspective on how to sort of find that middle ground. And certainly working in the startup world, the tech people change like every 3 seconds. Bringing veterinary people into that, where we have our standard protocols for everything, it's certainly a interesting environment for those two types of people to work together. So I've had to do a lot of understanding how to help my team embrace those changes without losing their brain entirely.
And it's true, and even more so this year on the digital marketing side, because of all the changes brought on by COVID, the digital marketing side, it's just been one constant change after another. I mean, Google normally does 3,000 to 5,000 changes in a non-COVID year, but we were, that's just Google, and they've been changing Google My Business area, which is kind of like one of the prime digital lobbies for a business is their website or Google My Business. It's that card on the side of a web page that tells you their hours and best time to come and everything. Well, at one big deal. So, yeah, it's crazy, right?
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this week pans out as far as change goes, but that's all the more I'm going to say about it. I'll have to be applying some of these to my own life this week.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the cute puppy pictures.